On the Road is sponsored by Pathway Escrow. Hi friends, it's Paul Ward and welcome to another On the Road. So we are in a very large warehouse in Irwindale, California, which is just outside Pasadena. This is where they build all of the Rose Parade floats. And right now there are 13 floats being constructed. We're about 3 days away from New Year's Day. And there are literally hundreds of volunteers from all over the United States helping out building these beautiful floats, which are originally constructed by a professional float committee, and then volunteers do all of the finish work. Well, I am so excited today. We have a special guest, Wade Nomura with the Rotary Rose Parade Float Committee, and you are the two-time past chair. Is that correct, Wade?
That is correct there, Paul. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Welcome again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, we spoke last year, and as a fellow Rotarian myself, our Rotary Club led a group of about 15 students down to the Pasadena area to work on the Rose Parade floats in a giant warehouse. And we're planning on doing that again this year. So getting up on some scaffolding, well, not myself, but some folks younger than me getting up on scaffolding and working until the wee hours. So what is this year's theme, Wade?
No, that's a good question. This year's theme, we're using part of Rotary's theme, and that is Unite for Good. And then we have one in our south. It's called The Magic of Teamwork. That's the name of the float
Okay.
theme.
I remember last year was some farm animals, and
Correct.
is this year another year with caricatures and animals, or is it different?
This year actually is all animals. It's actually a jungle theme showing different animals from the African continent. The front lead of that group of animals is actually a tiger and cubs. It's kind of neat. It's a very nice looking float. It's larger than it was last year and extremely colorful. I'd be surprised if we don't win an award this year because it's actually spectacular the way it looks.
Wow, awesome. And you told me a while ago that committee actually starts meeting in February.
We actually start meeting prior to February. We decided December. Actually, we just had our meeting yesterday on the upcoming leadership of that next year's group. And we do a wrap up in January, followed immediately by the kickoff of the next year. So we start at the end of January.
Wow, so it's a 1 year.
It's a full 1 year, commitment.
That's incredible. Are there any folks that are actually on the float this year?
We will have 8 people on the float this year, including the president nominee. The current president, Francesco, is not going to be able to make it only because of his, I would say, late approval of becoming a president, because he only had less than 30 days before he took office of being named as a president to come in. So he had family commitments. He's from Brazil. So instead, in his place, he is sending a representative who is Larry Lunsford, actually, who's coming in, and he's actually the president nominee currently. So he'll be joining us twice.
Now, how many hours do you estimate that it takes to make the float?
That's a good question. It varies depending on how we do the numbers, but it's about 40,000 hours from what I understand. We have design time. We have commitments from the float builder, Phoenix Company. They do the renderings for us. Then there's a construction time that we don't see, that they actually put the float together with mechanically. Once that's done, then we come in with a team probably every weekend of December to actually start doing the decorations on that one. The last week and a half, 2 weeks is almost every day where we're working on that float. And that goes from 8 o'clock till 8 to 8. It's 12-hour days.
So the heavy lifting, the mechanics, is all done by professionals.
It's done by a professional company. Again, called their name is Phoenix Float Builders. That's what their exclusive business is, to build floats. They put over half the floats that you'll see on the parade. Actually, they manufacture and do the work on.
Oh, really? The same company?
Yeah. Same company does most of them, almost half. I think actually over half.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's all they do.
We're on location in Irwindale, California, and we have with us Regatta Corey. Welcome to On the Road. Thank you. So tell us, Regatta, how long have you been participating in the Rotary Rose Parade Committee?
I have been on this committee for roughly 13 years. I was invited the first time to join and learn a little bit more about the floats. And the reason why I say is I begin to learn that more and more that my pet peeve is that Rotary is the best kept secret. And our float being in the Rose Parade is just the fact that we get our name out. We get to tell people around the world about all the good that Rotary and National, Rotarians, Rotary clubs do to make our communities a better place.
I do believe that it is a secret. Rotary is a secret. People don't really know what Rotary does. They see the wheel when they drive into small towns and they're familiar with the logo, but they're not really familiar with the service. Correct. And this is an opportunity for millions of people to see it on TV and hundreds of thousands of people to see it live, right? But they're actually here at the parade. I did notice that there's a tag or a slogan on this year's float that says Unite for Good.
Yes.
What is that all about?
The Unite for Good is, it's no longer a claim because Rotary International does not militate. The Unite for Good is a presidential strategic message, which really perfectly aligns with the Turner of Blazes theme for the year, which is the magic and teamwork. And so what better time is to unite for good and the magic and teamwork that go hand in hand together. The Rotarians from all over that are coming in. We have Rotarians coming in from Connecticut, from New York, and throughout the state of California. We also have with us today that you meet here our friend Nancy Filkins, who is from Franklin, Tennessee, who's also on our committee. She's a florist. I'm sure she'll tell you more. So she's going to be working on the fresh flowers.
So we're talking to Nancy Filkins, who's also with the Rotary Rose Parade Float Committee. Welcome to On the Road.
I know.
So how'd you get involved in this endeavor?
Well, I was a volunteer in my community and invited to become a Rotarian a couple of years ago. Since I became a Rotarian, I noticed that on Facebook they were looking for ambassadors for the Rotary Rose Float Committee. So I reached out and said, how can I help you? I'm a Rotarian, what can I help you? My good friend, Regatta Corey, I told her all my backgrounds, art design, floral design, and float design. And she said, I think he would be best suited for the committee. So they held a meeting and voted me in, and here I am.
Wonderful. And you came all the way from Tennessee, right, to participate?
Yes, I did. I'm from Franklin, Tennessee.
Nice.
Originally from the Pasadena area where I worked as a professional florist for 20 years. And then after that was at Sierra Madre Rose Float Associations, and then moved to Tennessee.
Wonderful. And so they have you gluing and like doing manual labor now, or you're coordinating all the kids?
I hope so. So the live flower will be applied tomorrow, I believe. And hopefully I'll be able to do some floral designing.
Wonderful.
Geishas.
And how long have you been on the committees at?
This is my first year, so no, why don't I second year?
Okay, so brand new.
Yeah.
All right, so you definitely been roped in.
Definitely.
Well, wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
How does Rotary International fund the float?
Now, that's an excellent question. The actual funding of the float is in participation with Rotary International. However, Rotary International puts in money for the riders. So they pay for the president and a partner, whether it be a spouse or in this case, Larry's going to have his professional aide, his presidential aide, actually riding with him on the float. The rest of the money, roughly $220,000 of that $200,000 is actually fundraised by the committee itself. So that's a big lift.
Interesting. Now, as a local Rotarian, there's all kinds of opportunities to volunteer, and there's all kinds of opportunities to, to give money,
right?
Eradicating polio and whatever, folks want to do. But I don't recall checking a box for float.
Believe it or not, our district, yours and mine, we put in $7,500 a year. And that goes from our district dues to the float committee itself. In this case, in most cases, it is the current sitting governor that gets to participate as a walker. So Mike will be walking down the boulevard with the float this year.
They're very nice.
And we have had in the past some some individual members also participate. Patricia Jones is a good one. She's from Thousand Oaks. I believe she's done it twice, and she's funded to actually be a rider 2 times.
And then for folks that, can't come to the parade, of course, they're able to watch it on TV, but you can also visit the float area after the parade is over, right? If you want to kind of get
that is true. That's becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Prior to this, they used to just park the floats, leave them there for 5 days, let them kind of dry out, wither away, and then they just haul them away. But now they actually are having an event, a special event that lasts for 2 or 3 days, I believe, where you do a post-parade viewing, and you actually get to see the floats. And we will have people this year actually doing tours of the floats individually. So we'll have people on standby there answering questions about how the design went, how it was built, who designed it, and all of the above.
Interesting. Now, has Rotary ever thought about having a special kind of VIP event surrounding the Rotary float specifically?
We actually do have that one. The biggest one probably is one that's the least publicized, and that is that our committee actually funds and hosts the International President Summit. And we do this this year will be on the 30th. We have with us the International President of Rotary, the International President of the Lions, the International President of Kiwanis, and the International President of the Optimists. All 4 organizations come together and we host that event. It's a breakfast.
Oh, wow. Right there at the float.
Well, actually, it is in Pasadena, not at the float. Okay. It's a pretty exclusive place that we hold it at. This year is the first time ever it's going to be open to the public. So if people wanted to come in, sit in, $150, you could actually see and participate in what we call the summit. And each president talks about their vision. We have a separate time, 1 hour, where they are actually given their breakfast in a private room, in a breakout room there, and they will talk about their experiences as international president.
Interesting. Now, does that take place like January 2nd or 3rd, a couple days after the parade?
The 30th. It starts on the 30th. It'll be the 30th this year. So it's right before. Yeah.
And that's a fairly new event?
It's been around for about 12 years. This is the first year that I actually take that back. It may be 15 years plus, but this is the first year that it's going to be open to the public.
We're talking to Mary Lingua with the Camarillo Rotary Club. Mary, welcome to On the Road. So tell us, you brought a group of kids up here from Camarillo, California to work on the floats?
And from Oxnard. 9 students from Adolfo Camarillo High School and Wainimi High School, and they're part of the Interact Clubs.
Interact Club. So they're kind of young, future, hopeful Rotarians, maybe?
Yes, first they'll be Rotaractors and then Rotarians. They're 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders.
Okay, and so they're active in service projects at their own high school level.
They get to choose what service projects they do, and the decorating of rose parade floats is one of their star projects every year that they choose.
I would imagine. So they sign up at their school, and then together they come and work on.
You get Rotarians to drive them, like you. You drove some today, so thank you.
Absolutely.
And then we basically they come and cut flowers, blue seeds, climb on scaffolding, whatever the crew chief wants us to do for the day.
And how do kids join and interact floats at their school?
They basically, during Club Rush or anytime, the Wainimi and Camarillo High, every Monday before our meeting and Tuesday, they announce the meeting where it is, and the kids can show up at the teaching advisor's classroom and join.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. You're welcome. Where did the committee come up with this year's idea of the African safari animals?
Well, we meet with Phoenix, a design committee meets with Phoenix, and they usually have 15 to 20 renderings that have been kind of pre-approved by the term of roses. And we had an including RI president who fell in love with this float. So that is the float that we went with this year. We have never had a 45-foot float. The largest float that we've ever had is 35 feet. So this is huge for us, but it's looking more and more like an award-winning float every day.
Nice. And how does the committee decide who gets to either sit on the float or walk along with the float? How do you guys determine that?
Well, it depends on your wallet size. So
Not that big.
it's always Rotarians. So we have all the information on rotaryfloat.org. You can learn how to become a author, a writer. If you want to become a T-shirt sponsor, there's different ways of participating with the float. So you either pay for a writer position or you pay for a walker position. And so they make their own selection. They make their own decision as to whether they're going to walk or bike.
Sure. And I understand that you guys start working on the next year's float, like literally in January after New Year's Day. It's a year-long process.
We have our organizational meeting that starts in January, and that is when we're assigning different roles and we're looking at what we need to do and when do we start our fundraising. And if we can get just Rotarians alone in the United States, if we can get every Rotarian to pay $1 per Rotarian, we can cover the cost of the float. This float this year is costing us nearly $200,000 because it is a larger size float. But that is when we start planning on the fundraising. The theme for the Tournament of Roses is not typically released until about March. And then once that is released, then Phoenix start working on different designs to kind of align with the tournament theme. And then we're invited here in this building and we go through all the renderings. We will narrow them down to 5 and take it to the committee and narrow it down to about 3 or 2 until we all agree on the one that will be.
Interesting. And I see lots of students here working this evening. How do you coordinate all of that? They're here until the wee hours.
Well, these students are junior Rotarians. They are all interactors. They're from high school interact clubs. And they're always looking for service hours. So we have Rotary clubs that know when the registration opens up, typically in September. And the last few days fill up real quick because everybody wants to put a fresh flower on the club. But the Rotary clubs actually coordinate that. They pay for the spots for their interactors to come in and they bring them down, whether they bus them or they all just kind of be here. But we rely on our clubs from all over the nation, not just in California, is to go and bring the young generation, our future Rotarians, to participate in.
Future Rotarian.
Future Rotarian.
That is it. Absolutely. Regatta Corey, so nice to meet you. And thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much.
Anything else about the float that the public should know as they're watching their 1st of January Rose Parade on TV?
Yeah, good question for you. Yes, that is. I would say probably the most important thing is why Rotary does it, why we do the float. It's actually part of a PR campaign, public image. As far as what Rotary is concerned, it is the largest one that Rotary does. We have 27 million viewers watching it on TV, another 700 to 750,000 watching it live on the parade route. So based on that and based on the numbers, that again gives us the largest exposure. We give each of the networks a script to read. Not all of them read the script, but it tells about what Rotary actually is and does and what we're all about. So it gives our mission statement. I think that's probably the most important part. People don't realize what Rotary is. When people see that, they recognize the name, but they have no idea what the services that we do. So the script in itself makes a valid point of why we do what we do and what we are actually doing to benefit the world.
All right. That's so true that I find that in my own, Ventura County community that people recognize the Rotary wheel, right? They've seen it as they enter small towns or, medium-sized towns where they've got all the service organization logos as they drive in, but they're just not familiar with all the good works that Rotary does. I wonder if, social media can have a bigger impact and start educating folks more about what Rotary does.
Very, very true. It is. And one thing, podcasts like yours, they're a huge effort. They help us tremendously. But if you also look at it with the Rose Parade and Rotary Rose Parade Float Committee, the last 2 years, we've actually been able to secure a staffer that does public image, PR work, all the way through the world globally. And that team and her staff actually assist us with newsletters, some of the ideas that we have. They pass through, get us through licensing, making sure that we're in conformance, and give us suggestions and recommendations on how we can make that look more Rotary centric. So that's a brand new partnership, and that's been going a long way, really helping us out.
Yeah. On a much smaller note, I actually bought one of the little Rotary pins of the parade float last year.
Oh, good. Well, you have to get another one this year. That's
I've
for
got
sure.
so many compliments on that, and I know people that swap those at Disneyland and Universal Studios, and I think that could be quite the collector's item.
It really is, and they are, as you say, they're pretty spectacular pins.
Really, a lot of detail on those.
They are they replicate the float for those of you that haven't seen it, and I wish I had one in front of me, but I don't. But they are, again, it's a great keepsake. Again, they change every year too, so we never use the same float more than once.
How does Rotary International choose the committee members? I mean, it must be
The actual Rotary International does not choose the members. The members come from different organizations, different districts, different areas around the globe. And so we have those. They actually are a separate entity. We're not part of Rotary International. We are a separate group. And our specific goal and vision is to pass the word of Rotary by using the float as its means of support.
Wonderful.
And so we come from everywhere, but we are mostly in Southern California. It started with a group in Pasadena. The Pasadena Club was the very first club to put a float in the Rose Parade. From then, they took a little hiatus. When we came back as a group, and that would be with the 5 different sponsoring districts. And so from there, we've continued on.
Do the other service organizations that are having the special luncheon on the 30th, or do they also have floats?
All of them have the floats. Kiwanis has a float. Lions has a float. The Optimist does not. They're the only ones right now that currently don't have a float. They're a smaller organization. I believe they're about 80,000 versus our 1.2 or 1.5. So it makes a difference in financing it. Yeah, because again, these floats are close to $250,000.
Wow. Well, it's definitely a worthy cause, and
Thank you.
I want to do anything I can to, spread the good word of what Rotary is doing. It seems like most people that are doing service projects are kind of humble, and they want to just kind of quietly go about doing their good works and their good deeds and, not take too much credit. But I think we need to, toot our horns and share with the world all the good works that Rotary is doing.
We definitely do. Again, many people say we are the best kept secret in Rotary, and we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wade Nomura, thank you so much for joining us on the road. We've loved having you and learning about the upcoming Rose Parade float, and we will spread the word.
Sounds good. And by the way, come and see me when you get to decorating. I'll get you a pin.
Absolutely. I will be there on the 28th.
Okay. I'm coming on the 30th, but I'll see if I can get you one in the meantime.
Sounds good. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.